Okay, I put out a poll to see what you guys wanted to hear next, but I should do a comparison from 270 compared to, and y'all chose the 280 Ackley improved. Prepare yourselves for the Clash of the Titans, where an immovable object means an unstoppable force. Time to check out the numbers. And I think you guys think that 280 Ackley has the 270 beat. Think again. Think again. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the 270 has the 280 Ackley improved beat, but it's no slouch. Both are fighting for top contender, and it's a tie. Check this out. So, trying to keep things as fair as possible, as close as possible. I looked up a factory load from Federal using their 155 grain terminal ascent. The G1 on that is a .586 with a muzzle velocity of 2930. Okay, so because I hand load with the 150 grain Nosler AccuBond long range, I'm trying to keep the BCs and velocities as close as reasonably possible. So this was where I found that sweet spot where I can make a fair comparison. So this is a factory load versus my hand load, but the numbers are virtually identical. So check this out. With the BC of .586 from the terminal ascents from Federal, here, check out these numbers. You have a muzzle velocity of 2930 and an energy of 2954. When you step down, I'm going to go straight into where you, because I have, again, a 200 yard zero. I'm just going straight down to where we start talking about drop, which is 300 yards. At 300 yards, you got 2540 for velocity and 2221 for energy, and a drop of 6.1 inches. At 400 yards, 2417, and then energy of 2011 with a minus of 17 and a half inches. We'll jump down to 600 yards. You have 2184 for velocity, and you have an energy of 1639 with a negative of 59.1 inches. At 800 yards, you have a velocity of 1,960 feet per second and an energy of 1,322 foot-pounds with a drop of 129.7. Very good trajectory, very good energy, and it actually is quite lethal. And if you're sticking with that old school 1,500 foot-pounds of energy at a minimum, you can be ethical with this round out to 700 yards, because at that distance, you have 2,070 feet per second with 1,474 foot-pounds with only 90 and a half inches of drop. So it's actually very ethical for longer range hunting. And I like that. But the 270 ain't giving up the fight without swinging back. Here you go. So this is mine. My hand load using the Nosler AccuBond long range. So you have a G1 of 0.591. So you're talking only a difference of 5 thousandths. It's minuscule, the difference. Muzzle velocity at 2950. So you're only talking a difference of 20 feet per second. They're right there with each other. Energy, a little less because it's a slightly lighter bullet, of 2898 compared to the 2954. So you're talking about 50, 56 foot-pounds of energy difference. Not a significant difference. Let's see, we're going down to 300 yards. You have 2,562 feet per second with 2185 and only 6 inches of drop. So it's right there. You're only talking a difference of a little over 40 feet per second. And you're talking virtually identical drop. At 500 yards, you got 2,320 feet per second with energy of 1,793 and only 58 inches 58 inches of drop. 700 yards, you have 2,093 foot-pounds. 2,093 feet per second with 1,458 foot-pounds of energy. The difference is literally like 16 foot-pounds of energy more. That's it. They're right there. They're neck and neck with only 88.9 inches of drop. The 280 Ackley is having 90 and a half. So you're literally within a couple inches of each other at 700 yards. That's not enough to really even matter. At 800 yards, the final distance, you have 1,984 feet per second with 1,310 foot-pounds, and again, only 127.5 inches of drop. You're literally just a shade, like you're like 2.25 inches of drop difference at 800 yards. This is literally as close of a fight as you're going to get. This is a great comparison. Two great cartridges, duking it out to see who's going to be the king. But the fact is, they're coming out as a stalemate because this is a tie. These numbers are too close for there to be any significant call on the difference. Because at 800 yards, your differences in energy are only 12 foot-pounds. That's not enough to determine which one's going to be more ethical on a deer or an elk. That is right there. That's virtually identical. The only way to break the tie when it comes to things like rifle availability and ammunition cost, whether you're hand loading or buying loads. And the fact is, the 270 Winchester is far more common for rifle selection and ammunition selection and even your just general supplies. You have far more brass options for the 270 Winchester than you do the 280 Ackley Improved. And that's not knocking the 280 Ackley Improved for its performance. That's not it. There's other factors that go into it. But the guys asked for it, you got it. So if you're looking to have something that gives you 280 Ackley type performance, but for far less money and easier to shoot and easier to obtain rifles for, and to reload in, and to save you money, you might as well just get the 270 Winchester. Because here's the other side of it too. These two, because your difference in caliber, I'll write this down. So your 280 Ackley, also known as a 7mm, is a 0.284. So it's literally, here we go, 0.284 inches. That's what that is. A 270 is 0.277 inches. If you look at the difference between that leaves you with 0.007 inches. That's only 7 thousandths. Okay? 7 thousandths. The weights on these bullets are only a difference of 5 grains. Okay? Because the 270 is a 150 grain. The 280 Ackley, using the terminal sense, is a 155 grain. So it's literally right there. It's as close of a fair comparison as you're going to get. And the 280 Ackley, as good as it is, its sweet spot is from 150 to 162. So this bullet is fitting right in the slot of its sweet spot. Once you start pushing over that, it just lacks the volume that's really needed to drive those bullets at good velocities. That's why you have a 7mm mag, 7 PRC, Magnum rifles. The sweet spot for the 280 Ackley is just this, a 155, a 160 grain. That's it. That's its bread and butter. And the same thing with this 270. I mean, I know it's at the top end of this, but it has the capabilities to drive that bullet and do it so in a fair comparison. They are very similar boards, very similar diameters, very similar weights. And as you can see by the chart, they're basically identical. The only advantage that I can see with this is that you have a more affordable option than the 270. If you're hand loading and you're completely hand loading, that's fine. But even if you're fire forming your brass in the 280 Ackley by buying 280 Remington, you're still spending more than you are on basic 270 brass. 270 is just far more common. So, I know people have their preferences, and I'm not going to knock them because, like I said, I don't think there's such a thing as a bad cartridge. At the same time, for those who are looking to get into rifles to begin with, and you got somebody who's breathing down your neck to go, get the 280 Ackley, get the 280 Ackley. Just remember, if you're going to get into the 280 Ackley, have fun spending $1,400 or more on a rifle just to get into it. You can get a good 270 Winchester like I did. This Bergara B14 Ridge, average price for it is between $800 and $900. And I'm shooting stupidly tight groups with that thing. My best groups were 0.32 inches, and my average is 0.47 inches. So I'm consistently sub half MOA with a factory load pushing it at hotter speeds. So there's no reason to have to go out and get the ultra expensive. If you want something that's going to give you the advantages that the 280 Ackley Improve has, but you are on a budget and you're trying to not go broke in the process, go with the 270. It's going to give you everything that you're looking for that the 280 Ackley Improve has to offer, but it's going to do it for less money. So I'm going to call this one a tie. Tell me what you guys think. And yeah, again, let's keep this going. Please like, subscribe, and share. And keep the suggestions coming. I want to be able to do this so we can all have a good educational experience. Well, we'll talk to you later.